thought breaking you would be the final chapter. That once you were down, you would stay there, silent, shattered, and swallowed by defeat. But being broken isn't the end of your story. It's the violent, uncomfortable beginning of your awakening. The world may have seen the moment you fell, but what it didn't see was the fire it lit inside you. That fall stripped away illusions, tore off your masks, and forced you to see life and yourself without filters. And though it felt like the end, it was in that exact moment of collapse that something deeper within you stirred. Something ancient, something raw, something unkillable. You see, when you've been broken, there's a clarity that comes in the silence. A brutal kind of awareness that shows you what truly matters. The fake friends vanish. The distractions fade. The noise of the world becomes distant. All you're left with is you, your thoughts, your pain, your bare self. And from that space, something powerful begins to take root. A seed of strength that could never have grown in comfort. Pain becomes the soil. Reflection becomes the sunlight, and your will becomes the water. That's how transformation begins. Not in celebration, but in suffering. Not in applause, but in agony. That's where the real work starts. They'll say you changed, and they'll be right. But what they won't understand is why. They'll see the strength in your eyes and mistake it for arrogance. They'll feel the firmness in your voice and call it cold. But what they're really witnessing is your resurrection. Being broken tore away the parts of you that were soft for the wrong people, blind to the truth, and dependent on false comfort. The person you were before couldn't survive what you endured. But now you're a different beast. Now you carry wisdom in your scars and power in your silence. You've bled, you've wept, you've screamed, and still here you are, breathing, standing, rising. Most people are terrified of being broken, but what they don't realize is that it's the gateway to your most authentic self. When you have nothing left to lose, you finally understand what's worth fighting for. You stop pretending. You stop people pleasing. You stop living small to make others feel big. Being broken gives you a strange kind of freedom. The freedom to rebuild without the chains of your past self. You start choosing differently. You think more deeply. You love more fiercely, but with boundaries. You stop giving pieces of yourself to people who never deserved you in the first place. The beauty of being broken is this. It breaks open what was buried. Strength you never knew you had. Grit you didn't know you needed. Faith that was tested in fire but came out unburned. There's something untouchable about someone who's been broken and chose to rise anyway. Their eyes see through masks. Their heart doesn't fold under pressure. Their soul becomes forged in something bigger than pain. It becomes fused with purpose. And that purpose is what fuels them when the world offers no support, no applause, no guarantees. They keep moving because they must, not because it's easy. So yes, you were broken. Yes, they tried to destroy you. Yes, the pain nearly drowned you. But that wasn't the end. It was the rebirth. The fire didn't consume you. It revealed you. The fall didn't finish you. It woke you. You're not the same anymore. You can't be. And that's exactly the point. You didn't survive just to go back to who you were. You survived because there's a stronger, deeper, more dangerous version of you that was waiting to be born. And it took being broken to meet them. They told you pain was weakness, that it meant you were broken, damaged, fragile. But what they never taught you was that pain is not your enemy. It is your instructor. It is the one force in life that doesn't lie to you. It exposes the truth you tried to bury under distraction and denial. It rips off the bandages you've used to cover your wounds and forces you to confront them with bare hands. In that confrontation, you don't just suffer, you evolve. Because pain doesn't show up to destroy you. It shows up to strip away everything that no longer serves the person you are becoming. It reveals your edges, your limits, your insecurities, and dares you to go beyond them. Pain is ruthless, yes, but it is precise. It targets what is weak within you and demands that you either strengthen it or shed it completely. When you walk through pain with open eyes and an open heart, you begin to understand its power. You start to see that the very thing you thought would break you is the thing that's building your endurance. Your mind becomes sharper. Your heart becomes stronger. Your tolerance for nonsense shrinks, and your hunger for real meaning explodes. You stop wasting time on things that drain you. You stop begging for acceptance. You stop settling for average because pain has taught you that comfort is a trap and growth lives in discomfort. Every tear, every sleepless night, every internal war, it all becomes part of your training. You are no longer surviving pain. You are absorbing it, using it, transforming it into pure drive. And that drive, it becomes unstoppable. The world doesn't teach us how to use pain. It teaches us how to avoid it, numb it, medicate it, run from it. But those who rise the highest are the ones who leaned into the suffering, who sat in the silence, who listened to the ache in their soul and said, teach me, because pain will teach you things comfort never can. Introduce you to your real self. Not the version you show the world, but the one that shows up when no one is watching. The self who gets up one more time when no one told them to. The self who keeps breathing through heartbreak, through loss, through betrayal, and still finds a way to hope. That self is not soft. That self is carved from the stone of survival. What separates the powerful from the powerless is not the absence of pain. It's the relationship they have with it. The powerful understand that pain is part of the process. They know that every dream worth chasing has a price, and the currency is often struggle, but they don't resent it. They welcome it. Because each time they walk through fire and survive, they come out with more than scars. They come out with knowledge. They come out with deeper faith in themselves. They come out with a silent confidence that says, I've been through worse, and I'm still here. That kind of power doesn't scream. It doesn't need to. It radiates. Pain will never ask for permission. It arrives unannounced and stays as long as it needs to. But instead of resisting it, learn to recognize its purpose. It's shaping you. It's showing you who you're not, so you can remember who you are. It's burning away the lies, the fears, the doubt, until all that's left is raw truth. And in that rawness, you begin to see what you're really made of. Not the mask you wear, not the title you carry, but the core of you, the soul that refuses to surrender even when it's exhausted, the spirit that bends but does not break. That's where real power's born, in the moments you thought would end you, but instead became your origin story. You don't need to fear pain anymore. You need to understand it. You need to face it, harness it, and let it sharpen you like a blade. Every great leader, warrior, creator, and survivor has walked through their version of hell, but they didn't come out the same. They came out forged, not despite the pain, but because of it. That is what makes pain sacred. It's not the end of the path. It is the path. And if you walk it with courage, You don't just survive it. You rise from it with a fire no one can take away. Closure is a lie we're taught to chase, as if a clean final conversation will magically erase the pain and make everything make sense. We cling to the hope that someone will say the perfect words, admit they were wrong, and give us permission to move on. But the truth is, life rarely offers that kind of resolution. People walk away without explanation. They hurt you and pretend it never happened. They betray you, then rewrite the story to suit their guilt. And you're left holding 1,000 pieces of something that once meant everything, begging the universe for answers that may never come. But what if you don't need those answers? What if you don't need closure to close the chapter? What if all you really need is the courage to move forward with your own truth? We wait. We wait for them to apologize. We wait for them to understand. We wait for someone to validate our pain, to make it real, to say, yes, what you felt mattered. But while we're waiting, life is slipping through our fingers. And the longer we wait, the more power we give to the ones who hurt us. We let them occupy space in our minds long after they've left our lives. We build prisons from our own expectations, hoping that maybe, just maybe, they'll come back and make things right. But the ones who cause the deepest wounds are often incapable of healing them. And if we keep looking to them for closure, we'll bleed out waiting. Healing doesn't come from them. It comes from the moment you decide they no longer get to define your story. Closure doesn't have to come in the form of a conversation. Sometimes closure is silence. Sometimes it's waking up one day and realizing you don't need to replay that moment anymore. You don't need to stalk their page, reread their messages, or analyze every word they said. Sometimes closure is choosing peace over answers. It's saying, I may never understand why they did what they did, but I'm done letting it control me. That choice, that moment of reclaiming your power, is worth more than any apology you'll never receive. Because when you decide to stop waiting, you start rebuilding. You begin the journey back to yourself. There's a brutal kind of freedom in letting go without closure. It means accepting that the story won't have a perfect ending, but you will write the rest. It means understanding that not every villain sees themselves as one. And not everyone will admit they broke you. But their silence, their denial, their absence, that's all the closure you'll ever need. If someone can walk away from your pain and never look back, believe them. Believe that their absence is the answer. Don't chase the explanation, chase your healing. Because the truth is, the longer you chase closure, the further you drift from the healing that is already within your reach. You don't need closure from them. You need clarity within you. Clarity that says what happened hurt, but it will not define who I become. Clarity that says I may never understand their reasons, but I understand my worth. Clarity that reminds you that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing yourself over and over again, no matter how much it hurts. And when you choose yourself enough times, something powerful starts to shift. You stop asking why they did it, and you start asking how you'll rise from it. You stop needing them to admit they were wrong, and you start proving that you were always right to demand more. The ones who hurt you don't hold the keys to your freedom. You do. And the moment you stop seeking closure from them and start giving peace to yourself, you'll realize how much time you wasted waiting for someone else to set you free. Healing isn't passive. It's a war you fight daily. And walking away without closure isn't weakness. It's strength in its rawest, most unfiltered form. It's the moment you decide that your future matters more than the wreckage of your past. And from that moment on, nothing and no one gets to hold you hostage. Or ChatGPT said, rebuilding after being broken isn't about becoming more gentle to avoid pain. It's about becoming sharper, clearer, and more intentional. When the world has crushed you, when people you trusted have betrayed you, when life has thrown you into the fire, you don't crawl out weaker. You rise out of it wiser. You don't just glue yourself back together the way you were. You redesign every piece. You don't become a softer version that avoids conflict or discomfort. You become someone who sees through lies faster, who smells betrayal before it strikes, and who sets boundaries that no one crosses without consequence. Because once you've been burned, you stop playing with flames pretending they're harmless. You don't just rebuild, you upgrade. The mistake many people make after heartbreak, betrayal, or failure is thinking they need to become more palatable, more agreeable, less intense. They think softness will protect them from being hurt again, but it won't. People don't respect softness. They take advantage of it when it lacks backbone. That's why rebuilding smarter means stepping into your strength, not shrinking from it. It means honoring your instincts even when others don't understand them. It means speaking your truth even when it shakes the room. You don't water yourself down to be digestible. You become the full, unfiltered version of yourself because you've earned the right to be real. When you rebuild smarter, you stop giving unlimited access to everyone. You learn to be kind but guarded, generous but discerning. You no longer pour into people who only show up when they need something. You don't waste your time trying to prove your worth to those who were blind to it. Instead, you channel your energy into yourself, your healing, your goals. You understand that your time is sacred. Your heart is sacred. And not everyone deserves to sit at your table. You used to let people in too easily. Now they earn the right to know you. Because you're not rebuilding for attention, you're rebuilding for elevation. Part of rebuilding smarter is learning from the pain that broke you. You extract the lessons. You study the patterns. You stop romanticizing red flags. You stop making excuses for people's behavior. You stop blaming yourself for the cruelty of others. You look at the damage and you ask, what did this teach me about who I am, what I deserve, and what I will never tolerate again? Because if you don't learn from the fire, you'll keep walking into it. Rebuilding isn't just putting your life back together. It's redesigning it with the wisdom of survival. It's intentionally shaping a new path so you never have to repeat the same hurt twice. You also stop chasing people who ran from your wounds. When you rebuild smarter, you stop explaining your pain to people committed to misunderstanding it. You stop hoping that the ones who broke you will suddenly grow the conscience to repair you. That's not their job anymore. That job belongs to you. You become your own protector, your own peacekeeper, your own safe space. And as you do, something inside you starts to shift. The need for validation disappears. The desperation for closure fades. You start walking different, thinking different, living different, because you've tasted what it feels like to be shattered, and you'll never allow yourself to break the same way again. And above all, rebuilding smarter means you stop rushing the process. You give yourself the time to heal, to grow, to transform. You understand that becoming your strongest self won't happen overnight, but you also know that every scar, every setback, every sleepless night is building something unshakable inside you. Not something no one else sees, but you feel it day by day, piece by piece. You're not going back to who you were. That version didn't survive. You're becoming someone new. And this time, every part of you will be built with precision, with purpose, and with power no one can take. They saw you fall. They saw the moment you cracked, the second your knees buckled, the day your silence screamed louder than any words ever could. They witnessed the damage, the tears, the silence, the withdrawal, and some even smiled at your pain. The collapse wasn't quiet. It was public, brutal, raw. But what they didn't know was that you were gathering strength in that darkness. While they were busy writing your obituary, you were laying the foundation for your return. Because the collapse wasn't your ending, it was your turning point. And the comeback you're building, it won't be subtle. It won't be soft. It will be loud, undeniable, and unforgettable. The beauty of the collapse is that it clears everything. It wipes the table clean. It burns down what no longer serves you. At first, it feels like ruin, but over time, you realize it's freedom. You no longer have to pretend, no longer have to carry dead weight, no longer have to live under expectations that never fit you. When everything falls apart, you get to decide what you'll build next. And when you rebuild from nothing, you don't carry the old rules with you. You create new ones. That's the power in the fall. It gives birth to a version of you that was buried beneath the noise. And once that version rises, the world has no choice but to listen. People forget that the most powerful comebacks are born in silence. They don't start with applause. They start in isolation. While you're grinding behind closed doors, while you're healing alone, while you're piecing yourself together in the dead of night with no one watching. That's where the fire is born. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. And when you finally rise, they won't believe it because they thought you were done. They thought your silence was surrender, but it wasn't. It was strategy. It was preparation because some storms don't announce themselves. They just arrive, fully formed, and rewrite everything in their path. That's what your comeback will feel like. The comeback will not be polite. It won't ask for permission. It won't wait for validation. It will be a roar from a soul that has been pushed too far for too long. It will be a declaration that you've seen rock bottom, made peace with your pain, and decided to use it as rocket fuel. Every person who walked away will hear it. Every person who underestimated you will feel it. Every person who doubted you will have to watch you thrive. And that thriving won't be out of revenge. It'll be out of reclamation. You're not coming back to prove them wrong. You're coming back to prove yourself right. That's the real victory. The moment when you no longer need to explain your transformation. You don't need to defend your decisions, justify your boundaries, or water yourself down for anyone. The new you is built different. You walk differently, speak differently, choose differently. Not because you've become bitter, but because you've become wise. Experience has carved out your vision. Pain has refined your purpose. And you've earned every ounce of the peace you now protect. The collapse taught you what matters. The comeback is your chance to live by it. And when the world finally sees what you've become, when they hear the thunder in your footsteps, feel the heat of your ambition, and watch you soar beyond everything they said you couldn't be, they'll understand something they never grasped before. The fall wasn't your failure. It was your forge. It was where the real you was born. And now that you've returned, stronger, louder, and more focused than ever, nothing can dim the light that emerged from your darkest hour. The comeback doesn't whisper. It roars.